Geetika, please.
Thank you so much, sir.
How are you?
I'm good, sir.
You are based in Delhi or you are coming all the way from Haldwani?
So I have come from Haldwani since a week now.
Okay. To start with, since you have done 4 years at Kurukshetra,
Yes, sir.
how do you correlate Kurukshetra with the Indian mind and thinking?
So how do I correlate Kurukshetra
Kurukshetra,
with the...
Indian thinking?
So the first thing that naturally comes to mind when we hear Kurukshetra is the Battle of Mahabharata. So that relates to it. And the ethos of that place. There's a natural sense of the lifestyle of Hinduism in that place. Because there are a lot of temples and there are a lot of places.
Little louder.
So there are a lot of temples, there are a lot of places over there where we can go for meditation even. And even the people who come there often come there as pilgrims. So it does correlate.
Where do they go as pilgrimage?
So there is Brahma Sarovar over there.
Okay.
And
So what is the story behind it?
so it is said that when Pandavas, they were residing in Kurukshetra, Bhim, he actually took a bath in that Sarovar. So it became sacred. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good morning, Geetika.
Good morning, sir.
You are also one of the younger candidates that we are interviewing, which means if you are selected, you could go all the way to the top. And I noticed that IFS is your first choice.
Yes.
You write your name only as Geetika, not Geetika Prakash. You don't use full name. Can you think of some foreign secretary with just one name like yours? No surname.
So, whether I can name any other?
We had one of the foreign secretaries who, like you, had just one name, no title, no surname.
So, I'm not aware of it, I'm sorry.
No problem. It's not a memory test, it's your personality test. Shashank was one of the former secretaries. Since we are talking of IFS and PSIR as your option, in the neighboring country Pakistan, some events took place recently. The Prime Minister who's ousted, he says, this episode shows how vulnerable Pakistan's democracy is. It can be manipulated from outside. The Prime Minister who is in office, he says this shows celebration of democracy because we used democratic process to change one man with another man. What is your hunch? Which side is more convincing and why?
So, my personal take on what has happened would be that there is a deep state in Pakistan which is from behind the curtains trying to control the processes that occur in the democracy. And I would say the ousting Prime Minister, Imran Khan, there has been some disengagement or some variations with what he was feeling and what the military wanted. And because of that...
So you're saying it's not externally manipulated, but internally manipulated.
So, yes.
But it's manipulated in that sense.
So I would not say that democracy is very mature there. So there are certain factors that need to be eliminated for it to be called a mature democracy.
Okay. So Pakistan at least is a democracy, is not a mature democracy, you're saying.
So yes, I think they are making progress towards that goal. However, a lot of elements have cropped up.
There is a democratic peace theory, have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
That also makes distinction between mature and not mature democracy.
Yes.
What do they mean by that? What happens if there is a mature democracy and if there is not a mature democracy?
So in democratic peace theory, they want to argue that when democracy is maturely established in a country, then peace prevails because the power lies with the people. However, when a democracy is not mature, then the original power does not actually lie with the people.
What are the three principles of democratic peace theory that they outline?
So the first principle is empowerment of people. That is at the core of it. And so
That's not the first principle. You can check it later. We were talking of Gita.
yes,
Your name is also Geetika in that sense.
yes.
Should Gita be taught in schools?
So I would say there are a lot of good things in Gita which would benefit young children to help build their moral compass. So some stories and experts from Gita, if taught at school, would benefit them.
But then why not all other religious books also?
So whatever is good and are good interesting stories for kids and teach them moral values can be included in the syllabus.
So students, in your sense, should be taught all the religious books.
So whatever helps building the moral compass of a child who is a young impressionable
Should
child.
education be secular?
So yes, education should be secular.
So religion is a personal. It's not a professional. It's not institutional. Religion is a personal thing.
So I do believe that religion is a personal thing. However, religion is all pervasive in our society as well, and religion does form a part of how we live and how we conduct ourselves. And in that sense, even in the public sphere, good things from all religions can be derived to lead a good public life.
So then all religious books should be prescribed in primary schools.
So not all religious books, because the syllabus would be too hard for little kids to
Exactly.
study.
So then they'll become religious experts.
Yes, sir. But good things if if children can learn something from it and there are little stories which are interesting for them, then there's no harm in it.
Okay. You are able to skirt through that safely without getting trapped into any of the issues here. You also write English epigrams, as you
Yes.
say.
Yes.
What is usually the focus of your satire in this?
So usually the focus of my satire happens to be life in general and the complexities of chasing a goal and then realizing that maybe what we are chasing, what we are working hard
You mean
for.
everyday life?
So yes, the everyday nuances that we face and the struggles that we face and the big milestones that we create and the dreams that we are chasing, but maybe they are not the dreams that we want in the end.
Have you heard of philosopher Heidegger? He talks about everydayness.
Heidegger, so I'm not aware of.
Okay. Have you seen newspaper headlines?
So yes, I have seen.
So, can you recall what was the headline?
So in the Indian Express, the front page has this headline that Prime Minister Shehbaz is insisting on good relations with India. And other than that, there is a mention of, it's not in the front page, but there is a mention, there's a full advertisement of Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab, and they have mentioned how they are giving 300 units of free electricity starting from 1st of July. And
But with India, Pakistan, since IFS is your first choice, you
Yes.
think it throws up an opportunity, Shehbaz coming to power?
so the first indications that have been given have been positive. And our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji has also reacted in a welcoming way because India welcomes.
Okay, my last question. We are hearing recently bulldozers to be used in breaking homes of people who are suspected to be protesters. What do you think this brings to India from around the world? You are focusing on Indian Foreign Service, you're deployed in, let's say, Los Angeles, and somebody asks you, oh, we are hearing that there's a very potent new strategy you're applying of using bulldozers to break homes. What do you think is the image of India globally?
So I think the image of India globally would depend a lot on how we are perceived and how this case is seen by them as individuals.
How would you defend it?
So I would like to say that the law and order situation in numbers has improved under Chief Minister Yogi ji, and bulldozers has been used as a hard measure, a kind of show of authority that if someone does wrong, then the penalty can be something which is a physical manifestation using bulldozers, and it should, if it is done rightfully, then it will create deterrence.
So if young man of a family was seen in the protest, his family can be made homeless.
Sir, I would like to say that it should not be the only way, and it should not be the first step either. There should be multiple steps before that. The person should be told that the conduct in a democracy and the way we raise our voices.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good morning, Geeta. Geetika, you are just too young. You have 98 born. So my question is that if tomorrow you clears this, you would be too young for the country to handle down the situations, because being a bureaucrat there, because you just out of your studies right now, just completed your this. So plus if I see the age wise also, just moving out of the education structure, you have no experience of the work, all that. So do you think you will be the best person to give it to the country?
Ma'am, because I am young, I have a lot of energy and I carry this inspiration and motivation in me right now, which I feel, which is that I want to work. I want to put in the hours. And some people, they might not like overtime, but when I think of overtime right now, I get excited because I think, oh yes, I will be working here and this is what I will be doing. I am a hardworking student and whatever I have worked on, I've done well. I've managed to do very well. And because I'm young, when I take instructions from my seniors, I feel very good. And when I am given some commands, even if I am checked, I feel very good about it and I take it well. I will have a longer learning period where I will also have, towards the end of my career, opportunity to dissipate, to teach others whatever I have learned. And I can be very well molded into what are the needs of the services.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's move down to the political science. You have PSI as an option. So when we talk about the legislative assemblies, I'm talking about the state legislative assemblies.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the maximum strength?
Ma'am, legislative assemblies for Uttarakhand, it is...
No, I'm saying there's a fixed, like a maximum strength written in the constitution.
Ma'am, I think I'm unable to recall this.
Okay. Minimum?
detail. Ma'am, what?
Minimum strength?
Ma'am, minimum strength, there are different strengths specified for certain states which are smaller, and other than that, it is...
Okay, no issues.
sorry,
What
ma'am.
about Uttarakhand?
Ma'am, the strength of our legislative assembly in Uttarakhand is 70.
Is 70.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how many seats in Lok Sabha?
Ma'am, in Lok Sabha, we have 3 seats.
3 seats.
Yes, ma'am.
Rajya Sabha?
Ma'am, we have 5 seats in Rajya Sabha.
So lower seats in Lok Sabha and higher seats in Rajya Sabha?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
is it a vice versa?
Ma'am, as much as I can recall, I think it's 3 in Lok Sabha and 5 in Rajya Sabha. But now I'm feeling a bit confused about it.
Okay, no issues, no issues.
No problem, no issue.
Okay. So just asked about the Pakistan. I'm taking South Asia as a whole, nations. You know that Sri Lanka is moving economic crisis. Afghanistan, you have seen the issues. Pakistan, you know that. Bangladesh, certain issues going on. Maldives, you know, is on the verge of getting submerged. So what is the future of South Asian countries?
Ma'am, I think the future of South Asia, Asia as a whole, has to rely a lot on the political will of individual nations to finally come out of their inward-looking perspective of their economies, as well as greater integration together, because alone, a lot of countries are facing a lot of crises, and even in the needs during these crises, the help of relevant neighbors is so important. So it's high time that we realize that we have to come together and work towards making this region more integrated for its combined progress or individual failures.
Okay, so if we see together as a whole, these 7-8 countries as a whole, so do you feel that there is a future of these countries?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that once the initial hindrances are away, then in terms of culture, We are so alike in terms of the cuisines we eat, the food we enjoy, and the basic lifestyle that people have. There's so much to relate with one another that once the initial hurdles are removed, I think there is a very bright prospect.
Possibility. Okay. You come from Uttarakhand, mountain areas.
Yes.
So, as we have studied, we know about from different perspectives or different studies that 90% of the work there is done by the women, the agriculture field or the household, whatever kind of work. So, they say even 95, some studies says 95% of the work is done by women. But still, if we see the position of women in mountains, it is below the men. Why is it so?
Ma'am, the first problem that anyone can easily identify is the problem of dual burden that women face. Family, children is always considered a responsibility of women there because the structure of the society is such. And then other than that, even some economic burden is shared by women. In Uttarakhand, we do have women who go and cut grass, and it is a tiring job. And after that, they come home, they cook, and in these conditions, for them to develop can be a challenge for them. So that leads to this vicious cycle where they, in some ways, get stuck.
Okay, my last question to you. If tomorrow you are posted in Uttarakhand,
Yes, ma'am.
being a DC, DM, whatever higher position you have it, so what would you do there? Two things you will work on that.
Ma'am, the first thing since my school days that I have thought a lot about is engaging in young girls and always making sure that I'm available for them at all times, organizing workshops, organizing seminars, so that they do not feel that there is some distance between them or the authority. And also when they see me as a female in a post where there is some authority, then they know that this is possible, and even naturally it get ingrained that in these positions you see women, and this is something that needs to be done at every level. So this is the first thing that I will do. The second thing that I will do in Uttarakhand is that I will try to engage more in removing the gaps that are emerging between certain economic classes, to say so that the gap between English and Hindi is not too high, and that quality can be provided in both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Geetika.
Good morning, sir.
I want to ask you, recently we have seen in a press conference where our external affairs minister, he explicitly said that there is a change in the external affairs policy for India since last 2 decades. He has mentioned this. So what change do you see, that what external affairs policy we have changed in these couple of decades? What change we can see?
So the change that I see firsthand is that we have very well adjusted to the new geopolitical and geostrategic scenarios that are emerging. And we are trying to push for our strategic autonomy with a new boldness now. And India has made even other countries, other superpowers, so as to say, to recognize its own national interests now. And now people know, and even the other countries are aware, that when India makes a decision and when India has to take a stance, it is based solely on its own national interest, and that we are not a camp follower, and we will count the merits of our relations with any country on the sole basis of the two bilateral dialogues that we have. So this is the change.
So do you agree that at an international forum, is it right for a person who is representing the country to state that you're asking question to me, to India, instead look at the other continent and compare? Is it appropriate?
So,
Are you aware of the recent press conference that was conducted, and what was stated there? Are you aware of the situation?
so recent press conference, as in the 2+2 dialogue of
Yes, yes.
India and
When
USA.
foreign minister spoke about look at Europe.
Yes. So I think when a 2+2 dialogue is happening between India and USA, and there's some remarks that USA is making about our country, and there are some insights that we can draw about their country, then it is only a dialogue which is happening
But
between
then
two
putting
countries.
in another continent in between the conversation, is it right?
So, I think I'm not adequately aware of the thing that you're talking about, therefore I would not
Okay,
make
no
a comment
problem.
on it.
Many of the Indian students are
Yes.
sometimes attacked, right? You
Yes.
are aware of it.
Yes.
So, should, as in, let's say, if you are appointed in one of the countries and if you come across such cases, what should be the immediate action and what should be the long-term strategy that you will adopt?
So the immediate action and the first step that has to take place is to take notice of the health and the safety of the person who has been attacked, and to ensure that they are getting adequate resources and always feel the comfort that someone is there to take
So,
care of
I
them.
say the student is shot dead now.
Sure.
What will you do in that condition?
So first of all, I would like to make sure that I contact the families and the relatives to make sure that there is some contact for them to reach out to. The other thing that I would like to do is to see the way in which he has been shot dead. What are the causes that this occurred, and to ask for certain intelligence on why this thing had to happen, and if it is.
Long-term strategy?
So the long-term strategy has to depend on how and what the nature of these attacks is. Whether this is a continuously recurring thing, or was this something that just happened once. So based on that.
And if you conclude it's a racist attack, then?
So I think then racism in all its form has to be negated, and it has to be
How?
discouraged, and by first step that one can take is to use strong words against such racism, and to make it clear that such racism would not be borne by people of our country or any country. And the second step is to have some constructive dialogue with the authorities as well as on different levels.
Okay,
with
so
the-
I would like to interrupt you here. Let us suppose in this condition itself,
Yes, sir.
the relations between the two nations are already very sensitive. You are a minister there, you are a diplomat there, okay? And then in that case, you are saying that stating strong words and bold comments on such attacks, this is definitely going to harm the relations of these two countries. So you are not allowed somewhere from your seniors that you should go ahead. But you are seeing that such incidences are occurring again and again. And something has to be said at an international forum, or at least as a diplomat you want to say something, but your hands are tied. What will you do then?
So the first step in this condition would be, because the relations are already sensitive, we have to make sure that our own people are well aware of the risks involved, and we are prepared to always give them all kind of help. The second thing is that my seniors have already told me that I cannot speak. Therefore, I have to follow the SOP and the instructions that have been given to me. Other than that, as far as I can convince or pursue my seniors, or a dialogue can occur within the country, is a different matter. But if something has been instructed, then it should be followed.
We'll follow it.
Yes.
Okay, good. Recently we came across the Italian marine case.
Yes.
You're aware of the case?
So yes, I have some knowledge.
So do you agree that the justice has prevailed?
So I would say that in terms of settling such disputes by using, they had paid compensation, and this is in the domestically that is not allowed in India. However, the relations have suffered because of this mishap that occurred between India and Italy, and the new dimensions which are emerging in the world politics do require for some convergence, and there has been an apology from their
Simple
part.
question. Do you think the justice has been done in this case?
So my short answer would be yes.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is Minsk agreement? Are you aware?
So Minsk agreement, yes, sir, I have some knowledge. Minsk agreement was an agreement which required some between Russia, Ukraine, and other powers for it to remain somewhat neutral in the conduct of its affairs.
That's
So
it?
that is all I'm able to recall, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's come to these Arabic songs. Which Arabic latest song you have heard?
So the latest one would be Humud's Kunanta.
So you know Arabic language?
So in terms of knowing the language, no, I do not know the language.
So you don't understand the lyrics.
So not fully.
So what is the difference then listening to the music and then the song? And then how does it matter listening the Arabic song and the Italian song or the Persian song if you're not aware of the lyrics? Does it make difference?
So yes, there is a fundamental difference when we hear music from Arabia, Middle East and North Africa, and when we hear Western music, then the difference is quite there, quite out there. And in terms of even keys, one can identify that there's certain more use of minor keys in terms of Arabic music. However, in Western music,
So if I play Persian song or Arabic song, then how will you identify the difference?
so
You do
Persian
not know the
song,
lyrics, you're not aware of the language then?
so there's minor nuances that I'm aware of. For example, the word heart is called galb in the classical and alb in Egypt. However, other than that, in terms of music, they do sound a bit same to me.
Okay. Good, you have done street play also?
Yes.
So what is the difference between street play and stage play?
So street play.
Three basic difference.
So the first perceivable difference is that in stage play we used to have mics and microphones attached to us, but in street plays we have to use our voice and it has to be loud to send the message. So the acting that occurs in street play is more dramatic to say because the expressions have to come through. But when we used to perform on stage, then they have to be a bit muted because you have to impersonify day-to-day lives. And third is in terms of the lighting arrangements and the sounds, because in street plays all has to be produced and manufactured by you and your own. But on stage we do have some technological interventions.
I have an apprehension because when you started with the interview, sir has to say this to you that please speak louder. And then you are saying you are part of the street play. So,
So I think sir told me that I should be
Little louder.
a bit louder,
Oh.
and I tried to adjust with it. And this is what we do in street play. If the crowd says get louder, we get louder, and if there's a sad scene, we get a bit slower.
so how will you
Just
try to convince the audience regarding the HIV practice if you have to design a street play? So in 2 lines, if you can express.
So in 2 lines, using a street play.
Using a street play and awareness regarding the HIV.
So the format that we have usually followed is using a story. We construct a story around the subject and we try to engage people in the aspects where they can relate first. That look at this person, he's just like you. And then we try to show them what difficulties he's facing because of his illness. And when people see that, then there's some emotional connect that they establish that.
Through a story and giving the emotions as well, you will be able to convince the
So
audience.
some relatability has to be there,
Relatability.
some
Okay, good.
familiarity.
My last question to you. You talked about overtime.
Yes.
You would like to do it? Yes.
So
You mentioned that. My question here is, don't you think those who need overtime means that they are not able to complete their work in time?
So, as far as the nature of this job is concerned, once we are selected in these services and when we are working in the service of nation and the welfare of people, then there is no on time, off time. It's always, you're always on duty. So, in that respect, overtime was just a metaphor that I was trying to use, that how excited I feel being young to
Now
work.
you're justifying it. Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Since you are so good, so and your first preference is foreign service, I am sure not many questions will come on foreign policy because IAS is generally a first preference. So if you have given a first preference to foreign service, it will automatically come down.
I think, as Sir said, very few students are opting for IFS as first choice, and especially if there is a IFS officer on board, your interview 80% could be on foreign policy. Now, whether it is on foreign policy or any other issue, there are going to be certain number of opinion questions. And in opinion questions, as a responsible bureaucrat, whether IFS or IAS, your first preference should be to investigate facts. That is the first thing you have to do. You can't just respond without knowing what is happening. You have to save yourself by talking of, for the first time, we have a foreign minister who's a trained professional diplomat. So definitely he has his way of saying, you're not value judgment here. Don't say correct or wrong. So he has his way of answering things. If still they're pushing you, then go for national pride. National interest is first. If they're pushing you in some direction, you don't want to really take any value judgment on it, bring in national pride into it. That when Indian national pride seems to be hurt in an international platform, then sometime maybe a kind of strong rebuttal. That means you're answering back. Is perhaps in place. So use words. If you're choosing diplomacy, it's all about choosing communication words. Never fall into a trap. If you think you're falling into a trap, just say, I think I'll have to read on it. You know what that happens? If you say I have to read on it, discussion moves to another topic. If you keep answering that in a negative equation, you're wasting your 30 minutes. If you think you're being pushed into a corner, ultimately say, I think I have to read more on it. Naturally, chair will say, okay, the next member and next issue will start, and you may have a good answer to that. You have a good presence in the room. I didn't find too much trouble with your voice. If you think members are finding it hard to hear you, you've done street plays, so that is not a problem for you. Best wishes. I think you have a great chance of being good in this career.
No, I was happy with the presentation and the way of your answering. Only in the opinion type of questions. You have to be specific with that.
Okay.
Rest, I think you were good enough.
So in my opinion, you have done well. But there are few things giving the answers. While giving the answers, there are few catch in it. Example, when you answered to the question said by ma'am, when you said that more integration among the nations of South Asian countries is required. There are already integration with respect to BBI and BIMSTEC. There are organizations already. What exactly you are trying to say? State that explicitly in points rather than just moving around the circle. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
you have this very positive point, being angry.
So hopefully we'll see you in the
But
initial numbers.
stick that honesty and all those things, are there. Look at the test. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have gone
Best wishes.
very, very long.